In the heart of ancient Israel, where golden sunsets painted the sky, a peaceful village thrived. Among its people walked a woman named Hannah, a soul full of kindness, but carrying a silent sorrow. Beside her was her husband, Elkanah, a man who loved her dearly. Together they returned home, but deep inside, Hannah's heart longed for something she did not have. While others rejoiced in the laughter of children, Hannah sat in solitude, her hands resting on her lap. She watched as mothers embraced their little ones, their innocent giggles filling the air. Her heart ached, for she had no child of her own. A silent tear welled in her eye, but she quickly wiped it away. Nearby, whispers grew louder. Women exchanged glances, their hushed voices filled with mockery. They pointed at Hannah, their words cutting deeper than any blade. "She has no children," they sneered. Hannah lowered her gaze, her lips trembling. But she refused to break, for she believed in a God who sees, a God who hears. With a heart full of hope, Hannah journeyed to the grand temple of Shiloh, where prayers rose like incense. The towering stone pillars stood firm, a place where burdens were laid before the Almighty. She and Elkanah carried their offerings, stepping into the sacred halls, where divine presence could be felt in every breath. The temple glowed in the soft light of flickering lamps. Priests in white robes murmured prayers as sacrifices were laid upon the altar. Hannah, standing alone in the vast temple, felt the weight of her sorrow pressing upon her shoulders. She could bear it no more. Kneeling before the altar, Hannah's tears streamed freely. With hands clasped, she whispered her deepest plea, her voice trembling. "O Lord Almighty, if you will look upon my misery and give me a son, I will dedicate him to you all the days of his life." A warm glow surrounded her, as if heaven itself listened. From a distance, the aged priest Eli observed her. Her lips moved, yet no sound came forth. His brows furrowed. Was she drunk in the house of the Lord? Eli approached, his voice firm. "Woman, how long will you remain drunk? Put away your wine." Startled, Hannah wiped her tears and looked up. "No, my lord, I am not drunk," she pleaded. "I am a woman in deep sorrow, pouring out my heart to God." Eli's expression softened. Lifting his hand in blessing, he said, "Go in peace, my daughter. May the God of Israel grant your request." Hannah rose, her heart lighter than before. Something inside her knew her prayer had been heard. As she walked home, Hannah no longer felt the weight of despair. The sky stretched above her, painted in hues of gold and crimson. She clung to faith, believing that the Lord would fulfill his promise. One morning, as the first light of dawn crept through her window, Hannah placed a hand on her stomach. A gasp escaped her lips. There was life within her, a miracle. Joy surged through her, and she knew the Lord had answered her prayers. Months later, in the quiet of night, a baby's cry echoed in the small home. Hannah cradled her newborn son, his tiny fingers curling around hers. She whispered his name with trembling lips. Samuel. For he was the child given by God, the proof that faith was never in vain. But even as she gazed at her child, love overflowing in her heart, she remembered her vow. She had promised Samuel to the Lord, and she would not break her word. With a heart both joyful and heavy, Hannah walked toward the temple once more. Samuel, now a small child, clung to her, unaware of the journey ahead. The golden sunlight bathed the temple steps, as if welcoming him to his destiny. Kneeling before Eli, Hannah spoke with reverence. "This is the son I prayed for, and today I give him to the Lord as I have promised." Eli smiled, accepting the child who would one day become a great prophet of Israel. Years passed, and Samuel, now a young man, stood proudly in the temple, clothed in the robes of a servant of God. His voice echoed wisdom, his presence a testament to the power of faith. The boy, who was once a prayer, had become a leader of a nation. And what of Hannah? She, too, was blessed beyond measure. The Lord gave her more children, filling her home with laughter and love. She rejoiced, knowing that God was faithful to those who trusted in Him. The story of Hannah teaches us this: true faith is trusting God, even before we see His answers. No prayer goes unheard, no tear is wasted. If we hold on, in His time, He will bless us beyond what we can imagine. Trust in the Lord, for He is always listening.